Is Mooch on the phone line now?
We got Mooch.
Oh, fantastic. Mondays with Mooch with Steve Mariucci. How are you, Steve?
Hi, Rich. I'm great. You know, last night I flew back, from the network, and then so my wife, Gail taped the game, and so I had to watch it. I've stayed up late just to watch the recording of that thing. Wow.
Well, what'd you think of the decision of Kubiak? He's getting roasted for it this morning.
Is he really? He's getting roasted because he missed it, and they got no air up there in Denver. You can make long field goals up there. He just felt that the chances were they could make it. That's all. You can't. It's been tough on kickers this year, but what the heck? I'm not second guessing him.
Well, what's going on in that headset? Number one, and I don't know if you saw on the replay, or as it was happening, Joe DeCamillis, the special teams coach, was kind of making what I would think is the case for trying it. Like, I think my guy can make it. That's what it seemed like.
I'm assuming this is what Gary did too. I would always talk to the kicker and or the special teams coach, both, because you know how before the game, they kick from that sideline, then they go over there, they kick that way, they test the wind, and then they do it again, and they're always looking at the wind and throwing the grass up in the air. And so you ask the guy, can you make this, or what are our chances? And sometimes a kicker will say, Coach, it's too far, it's too much wind right now, or they'll say, yeah, I got it. And so you try to get a mature answer from those guys to see what the chances are. There's no guarantees, obviously, but you want to get their input in terms of, hey, what's your confidence level in making a kick from this distance right now?
Well, the roasting is happening is because if they were 6-4 and if they were 6-3-1, they'd be 7-3-1. My bad.
Yeah.
They would be sitting in front of the 7-4 Dolphins right now in the 6th spot. And now they're out of the playoffs, and that was within Kubiak's decision. If he punted the ball, that game was over. It was going to be a tie, most likely, barring anything crazy happening. Steve,
Alex Smith man, what a game! Yeah, that was one of those great games. We talked about it yesterday, Rich. The TV ratings about after the election and after the baseball and everything. People are back watching these games in the NFL, and they're great games, some of them.
Well, so and then you saw last night Justin Houston and Von Miller performing so well. Who was the guy in your days coaching, either assistant or head coaching, that wrecked the game? Who was the number one wrecker of a game from what you saw?
In terms of pass rushers?
Just in general. It could be maybe it's someone in the secondary, because they both wrecked the game for the other teams in the first half last night. I mean, it was real. And Khalil Mack did the same darn thing against Carolina too. So who was that one guy?
I know.
Who was that one?
When I was coaching, of course, when I was at the Packers, we had a guy named Reggie White, and I thank God every day he was on our team, because he would screw up our practices because nobody could block him, and he was so dominating for other teams. I just laughed. But on the other team, I remember coaching against Lawrence Taylor. And it was like, all right, let's go have a protection meeting. And one of the coaches called it, let's have a protection fight, because it was always a debate as to how to block this guy. Do you ever use a back or a tight end, or do you always have to slide your offensive line and get big on big? But he was a linebacker that moved around. There's certain special players, and most of them, have the gold jackets on right now, that you have to game plan for, and you have to really be smart in terms of, making a concerted effort to protect yourself so that guy doesn't wreck the game like you just said.
Steve Mariucci joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Now, I know you guys in the coaching brotherhood, fraternity, that you're still part of, Steve. Once you're in, you're never out, right?
You're in.
You all don't like talking about the coaching fraternity with what happens in there. But it sure looked like to me that Sean Payton had something out for Greg Williams yesterday, trying to drop a 50-burger on him. They're still throwing the ball around, up 49-21. They busted out Willie Snead throwing a pass to Tim Hightower, up 21.
Yeah.
Do you think something was going on there between those two guys?
Yeah, and then did you see there was a clip that Greg Williams and Jeff Fisher were yelling at each other on the sideline there. And did Jeff Fisher try to calm that down in his press conference a little bit? Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
They were yelling. Things get a little heated, too, on the sidelines, and then you just have loud discussions, that's all. But Sean Payton's, I think Sean's got a little of that in him, right? And, he likes to make a statement every now and then. with his football team. They're fun to watch. I mean, their offense is incredible.
But even if you don't think, let's not talk about this situation. Do those things happen where one coach wants to beat another coach in the worst way because of maybe something that's happened in the past?
Yeah. I mean, there's human nature involved too. I mean, sometimes you take a knee and you try to be respectful and not run a score up. Sometimes you say, you know what, I'm going to go for 2 and run the score up here, SC Stanford. I'm going to, some of these types of things go on, and I don't know if there's personal vendettas sometimes that go 10 years back or whatever that is, but I guess there's some of that. We're all competitive beasts,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you like to have the last say.
What happens tonight, Steve? Packers, Eagles, winner keeps season alive, I would think. Loser is in deep trouble. Certainly the Packers more than the Eagles, one would think.
Yeah, because the Eagles, they thought there would, when you have a new coach, new quarterback, you're trying to rebuild something, and they're doing a nice job over there. They're sitting at 5-5 and on the right track. I think they feel like they're off in the right direction. So win or lose, I think the Eagles are going to be optimistic this offseason. In terms of the Green Bay Packers, they're leaking oil, and it's over in Green Bay. Even though they've gone to the playoffs 7 times in a row, Packer fans are a little spoiled in that we want to be great every year, and they're not great this year. And it's like, what's wrong with our team? Well, we know what's wrong. They don't have any defensive backs or running backs, or they got so banged up, and people still expect them to keep playing well. And Aaron Rodgers is trying to carry the load, and it's going to be interesting because if the Packers lose this one, people are going to be very discouraged over there in Titletown.
And hey, I didn't ask you this, Steve. My last one for you here, and then Mondays with Mooch with Steve Mariucci. I didn't ask you this yesterday. As you know, I was kind of in mourning.
Yeah, you were.
And the way that NFL Game Day morning started got me a little under my skin. You were passing me.
Yeah, you got a Snickers bar. For 57 seconds into the show, you got the big Snickers bar.
I did. What did you think of Jim Harbaugh's referee rant that he went on in the post-game press conference?
Well, I think you and I both know Jim. And in fact, his old team at USD just beat Cal Poly in the playoffs to move on to the next round. Anyway, I think he was discouraged because, or I should just say pissed off at the spot. Okay, that was one thing. But it's began before that when he got the penalty, right, on the sideline. I didn't know there was a penalty for throwing your clipboard. Is that in the rule book?
No, it isn't. It isn't college basketball, which is what he said. The linesman told him is why he called the penalty, because it's a technical in college hoops. Jim said that he pointed out that it's not.
That's technical now in football, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I think those things all added up. And of course, losing a game they could have won, and all of that. There was some frustration, but Jim, he doesn't have a governor on his mouth. He's just going to say things the way he sees it sometimes, and he just felt that they got a little bit ripped off there. It's a shame because you're talking about the difference between that's millions. That spot, Rich, was millions of dollars for the university, right?
But are you thinking that? Are you thinking about dollars and cents at that point in time?
Probably not. You just want to win.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to win and let the athletic department think about the millions of dollars because of a different kind of a bowl game or playoff scenario there is. But I just think that it was such an incredible game that the world saw, one of the great college football rivalries participate with each other. It goes right down to the wire, and I think there's an appetite for more of that. Hey, and maybe you have them both in the playoffs, which is unlikely, but somehow, some way, we've got to make this great playoff system even better and include 8 teams instead of 4. I think we'll get to that at some point. But what a game, Rich. And I know you were in the tank. You still are. But you know what? You got to deal with it.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. I'll see you in Minnesota.
Okay, I'll see you there.
That's Steve Mariucci, my buddy, my compadre.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.